This may come off as a bit random, but something that I really enjoy doing is playing niche or new indie games from platforms like itch.io and GameJolt. There are some genuinely fun little experiences to be had there, or at the very least funny ones. However, I haven't really explored many indie games on this channel per se. Yet, a few days ago, while looking for some new games to try out, I came upon a game called Formless Star, and I just knew I had to talk about it, even if just briefly. With the cover alone giving off these really fun Earthbound Super Mario RPG-esque vibes, it all just screamed quality. And I was right. This is probably one of the comfiest games I've played in a long time, and I highly recommend you go check it out before watching this video. It's a short experience, but in the best way possible, and the creator deserves the support. So the game will be linked at the top of the description. And while this is a super comfy and cozy game at its core, I will say, funny enough, I was on edge the entire time. Which I will explain here soon enough, because it wasn't 100% the game's intention or fault, but more so myself. With that, let's not waste any more time and go on a voyage to a Formless Star. The game starts with us looking at what we can only presume to be the Formless Star, a sort of clay putty looking planet that seems to be almost alive. Well, I guess every planet is technically alive to some degree, but this planet seems a little bit more active than those. I mean, Earth takes a couple thousand years just to move some islands apart, but this place over here is having a full-on mountain range rave. Upon starting, we see our ship traveling through space towards the star, with our crew being on a video call with a fellow named Windmill, who seems to be our boss and is here to guide us on our mission. Here we learn that our crew works for the Space Archives, a business setting out to record as much of the galaxy as possible. However, with that in mind, this planet seems to be borderline hellish to record due to its ever-changing landscape, which is why we're being sent there in the first place, as they want us to document the inhabitants as a way to record the planet in some way at least, with there being about 60 animals to find and record. Soon after we meet our crew. Of course, there is Windmill, who is our department head and is a constantly stressed man who just wants to get the work done. Then there's Amino, who I'm hopefully pronouncing correctly. Anemo, our playable character and the newest field researcher of the archives. Then there's Vane, the ship's pilot, who seems to be quite a sweetheart, though is a bit childish. That's the game words, not mine. I mean, if you're traveling all around the cosmos just to catalog a bunch of planets all the time, I'd have to be pretty whimsical myself to not just be miserable all the time, even if I'm just faking the whimsy. Speaking of being a little bit miserable, Turbine is the data collector and mechanic, and she is quite the grump at times, or at the very least a bit sassy, but seems to mean well at least. Lastly, there's Fandroid, a semi-lazy robot assistant who tends to the ship's chores. After some banter to establish character personalities, we land safely on the planet. Upon leaving, we're then prompted with a gameplay loop. It seems every time we leave our ship, the landscape will become randomized once again, which we would then have to take advantage of to find all the unique animals. Alongside that, we're able to cut down and break obstacles in our way, and place down bridges to traverse around water, both of which we can do as much as we want. Apparently, Amino over here has the world's largest supplier of bridges, because my god, did I use a lot of them. I'm surprised by the time I left there wasn't a bridge biome. Oh, yeah, while the landscape is randomized, there are still distinct biomes that need to be found, the game often needing you to find certain biomes to find certain animals. Thankfully, there was also a hint system inside of the ship, and a map on your person to assist in guiding us to each biome and animal. And with how crazy the environments are, you'd probably think it'd be a pain in the ass to get back to the ship. However, Amino is inexplicably able to teleport back to the ship at any time, via the power of rainbows! I don't know why, but when I saw this, it made me think of the Google Map meme where it showed someone walking, then next to it showed like the same person walking but with a pride flag, and then it showed that they were going double the speed. I just thought that was a funny thing to come to mind in the moment. I don't know. I'm quirky. Woo. Regardless, those are essentially all the tools and mechanics we're given to start our animal research journey, and while they seem basic, because they are, the game isn't trying to be anything more than what it is, and even then, there is a few other mechanics that show up as we find certain animals, that can then be used to speed up the process. So there is a bit of progression as you find certain animals, but besides those few instances, the mechanics stay about the same. Speaking of the animals, let's talk about those wacky creatures, as we are now tasked with using our resources to try and traverse the planet and document all the weird and interesting animals that call it home. And my lord, are they weird. But before even that, we should briefly mention the biomes these animals inhabit, as a lot of these animals may seem quite random at first, and they are, but they also tend to be themed around or found in specific locations, which gives a bit of context to why they look the way that they are. At least a little, I mean they're still pretty crazy and out there. These biomes being flower biome, sand biome, hot biome, snow biome, metal biome, toy biome, and the fruit biome. Fruit biome looks so delicious. I am so hungry right now. While on the surface, all these locations look pretty chaotic, and beyond their general textures kind of consist of all the same stuff, somehow all the biomes still feel pretty distinct, as the texture work, chaotic or not, is really well done, and this mixed with the lovely sound design and all the crazy animals, make it feel like you've stepped into a uniquely new location, even if it might seem so similar at first. And the animals themselves are really fun. With the crazy environment of this ever-changing world, you'd think it'd be hard to make creatures that fit in, but due to these different biomes and the general general aesthetic, the creatures are able to fit in surprisingly well, with each and every one of them being so different and unique, yet still coherent. And as we go around researching each animal, after an adorable little animation and jingle, we get a sort of Pokedex-esque summary of the creatures, which adds just so much more flavor to these already wild designs. And then to top it off, every single animal then plays a unique animation showing off a bit of their personality and flair. And this quickly became one of my favorite aspects, as these animations added a ton of personality to each animal, and therefore added another level of fun in discovering a new one. As one moment you could be admiring a living block, then a damn iceberg with eyes is shooting laser beams at you, or a living mech is blowing the locals into smithereens. These extra animations really did add a lot to this crazy world, especially since you never knew what the next animal was going to look like or what it was going to do. Some were talking houses, or siren giraffes, or tongue alligators, or even flesh walruses. Yeah, fuck it, why not? You really don't know what you're gonna see next, and it makes for such an enticing reason to find every creature you can. And maybe it's just me, but a lot of these designs really screamed of Earthbound and Undertale inspiration, though we do see at the end of the game there is an inspiration list, and I don't see any of them listed there. So like I said, maybe this is just a me thing, but I feel like a lot of these animals, while they are all unique to this game, still give off those weird but highly endearing vibes that those other games had with their creatures. Regardless of potential inspiration, I just adore these little guys. My favorite was probably Frost Dancer, mostly because their special animation was basically putting on a mini concert. And goddamn, look at them go! Beyond the gameplay, something that really adds to the game's atmosphere is the gorgeous OST, which I've hopefully been playing throughout this video. If not, then it must be copyrighted, but that just means you can go listen to them in the actual game, and there's nothing wrong with that. For real though, these tracks are so cozy, but also quite varied, with some of them feeling almost somber, even kind of sad, and maybe even, at times, unsettling. I also really like our crew members. The personalities here are quite well defined and fun to see bounce off of each other, even if their appearances are kind of brief on the ship itself. Thankfully, we can actually stumble upon them while exploring, and this leads to some fun interactions. In fact, 2 of these interactions is why the game had me unsettled at times. This is a cozy game through and through, but while playing it, I had this feeling something dreadful was gonna happen. And there was a few moments where I thought my fears were gonna get validated, as if the game was readying to perform a rug pull on me and turn all rpgmaker horror on my ass. One of which being when I found Turbine complaining about an animal called S&P. At first, I didn't really understand what she was talking about, but then I proceeded to find the animal and was still confused. I mean, look at it. It looks like a piece of peanut brittle. But then... what the fuck? However, besides one other kinda creepy moment, that rug pull never truly happened. I guess the game just had a slightly eerie atmosphere at times. Not because it was scary, but because I didn't know what to expect. Also, I was looking at the horror games on itch.io when I found this, so low-key, I don't really know how I came across this game, but I think that added a lot to why these few moments psyched me out so much. Lastly, there's the graphics, which I have no idea how I've neglected to mention up to now, as this is some of the most gorgeous pixel art I've seen in a long time. Or at the very least, nostalgic, as this looks like it was pulled straight from a Super Nintendo or GBA game, and it is cooking so hard it's basically burning. Oh, wait, no, that's actually coming from my kitchen. I'll be right back. Oh, my apartment's on fire. Ah. Oh, Peter, my apartment's on fire. Damn it, Peter, I just wanted to play Fortnite. We'll just finish this up outside while the fire department puts that out. Either way, I really admire the simple yet elegant look of the pixel art here. It's not so simple that you can't tell what's going on, but does not try to be overly detailed or stylized. It's elegant in its simplicity, and I appreciate that, as I feel it creates a more distinct identity for the game. The creator Splendid Land is super talented, and their website will be linked below for you guys to check out. I am genuinely blown away by their work, alongside all the other artists that were involved in this project. Sure, it is not the most technically impressive game, and the gameplay loop itself, while cozy, can get a tad repetitive, but it's pleasant, and the creator seems to acknowledge this in the game itself. I don't care to spoil the ending in its entirety, but let's just say we get a bit of a speech towards the end, one that really puts into perspective why this project exists. The game itself lets the audience know it's okay to forget or even dislike the game, because in the end, you create because you love creating, and because it was fun to do. So whether or not others like it should not dictate if you continue. You do it for yourself, because it's important to you. But also, you know, you like sharing with others too, so if they want to see your stuff, then that's great as well. At least, that's what I got from it. I think the ending, while pretty explicitly stated, is also worded in a way that is still open for interpretations. And I think no matter how you see it, even if it's different from my take, there is something universal to take away from it. Never stop creating. Because even if it's rough, if you keep pursuing it, one day, you might just find your own Formless Star. I think you guys can tell I appreciate this game. The speech at the end just felt so real and human, and maybe that's because I relate to it so much. I mean, I push and I push to make videos and art, yet I just keep getting distracted or busy and things never pan out how I want. However, I still love creating videos and art. I keep on keeping on, because as long as one person watches or enjoys it, I'll keep creating. That said, I think that's enough sappy stuff for one video. So once again, the links are all below for you guys to check out. 100% please support this creator. They are making some splendid stuff. Okay, I'm gonna stop now. Before that, however, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to do the YouTube thing and like, comment, and subscribe, but only if you enjoyed it. And with that, I would like to give a big thanks to my YouTube members, Best Pro Gaming, and of course my $15 patrons, Psyche Eclipse and Benjamin Baker. Alrighty, with that, I hope to see you all next time. And hopefully my apartment won't be on fire anymore. Otherwise we're gonna have to find a new set or something. I guess that's next video's problem though. Either way, bye!